welcome. Thank you for coming to the Tribe Table. I know it's the end of a long day, but you both still look fabulous.
Oh,
so
thank you.
it must just be all this good energy that's going on at the Bentonville Film Festival. For now, we want to talk to you about why you're here and what's going on and why this film is at the Bentonville Film Festival specifically.
Sure.
Yeah.
Where do you want me to start in with why we're here? Why we're
So tell me a little bit, ease into the movie, but and specifically why this festival and why it was important for it to be here.
Yeah, well, our film is about a stage 4 cancer survivor, which is me, who decides to have a child after diagnosis, which is a controversial decision because metastatic breast cancer is still a terminal disease. There is no cure, as I like to say, ... yet.
Yes.
And that's also what we're working on with the film, is to raise awareness for metastatic breast cancer and ultimately funding for more research so that we can change it from a terminal disease to a chronic illness that can be managed over a long time. So it also touches on infertility, of course, because as a metastatic survivor, I was not able to have a child myself the traditional way. And thankfully, we found people like Callie and who was our egg donor, and our gestational carrier, Megan, is so sad that she can't be here.
Yes.
But we would not have been able to have and build our family without them. So we're also hoping, we want to be a voice for metastatic breast cancer and infertility, and that's why we're thrilled that we're included here.
Coming together to do that. That's awesome. And your son, by the way, is so adorable. So follow you on Instagram so you can see him because he's so cute.
Thank you. He's a ham. I was like, I'm so glad that he is, because I would not be able to take him to all these things if he wasn't.
And you've been on a journey through all of these festivals, and
well, this is our world premiere, so this is our first festival. So we're hoping this is the beginning of the journey of that.
This is a great place to have a beginning journey, is what I hear. And I love that you're bringing your story, and you did it in the raw real time, which is probably both brave and scary and surreal. Was it surreal?
all of it, to be honest. I mean, when we first decided to film, that was in February 2014, so we've been filming this movie for now over 4 years, and that was when I thought I was going to do IVF and do an egg retrieval myself, even though it was risky, and we show that moment in the film, and ultimately I was not able to do that myself, and it was getting over that process, or that mourning period of not being the genetic, relation to our child, but now, obviously, hands down, I'm so, he would not be him if it weren't for everything that we went through and everybody who came together to make him. So
so
it's him.
We're a tribe of women. So obviously that you're here is no coincidence. We looked at this movie and just thought, wow, what a great tribe of women story, and really a tribe of human story, because I know that you had a huge tribe surrounding you, but there's probably something very specific about being women coming together, both the type of cancer and then also bringing a child into the world. We can't do it without each other. So
absolutely,
tell us about that, and kind of tell us about how you were brought into this tribe.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, we met through actually another woman who introduced us, and she worked at an agency, and I wasn't really familiar with the process. I mean, I don't think very many people wake up and say, like, I'm going to donate my eggs. I just, not a thought that I don't think crosses very many people's minds. It's great when it does, though, because, of course, there's a need. So we met, in a very traditional sense, through the agency. And then at some point, it was just we don't need a middleman. Why is communication happening for both of us when we are very capable of doing that ourselves? And I don't want to speak for Megan, but I'm sure at some point the process that happened too.
Absolutely.
And so we just were we're just going to step over the red tape and do this together. And so I always, whenever someone asks me oh, what's the log line of this documentary, or what's it about? I'm it's about 3 women coming together to have a baby. That's what it is. And then of course, obviously there's so many more pieces to it, the cancer, of course, that does affect, females only. And so there is a very feminine piece to it, but I just think with, the climate right now and how feminism is totally coming to the forefront, it's just Well, yes, we
Yeah.
exemplify that because we're three women that came together for the sake of this child, and I think it's so amazing.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And like I told you last night, I see it that way, absolutely, hands down. But at the same time, I'm also in awe of the men who were behind the women, or I shouldn't even say behind, alongside the women who supported their decision, because not many men would necessarily do that.
Yeah,
So it's a really cool thing that they did, and that I mean, in the film you'll see Andrew behind his iPhone while you're taking your first IVF injection, and you can hear him kind of cheering you along. And IVF is such a hard process. Not only, I mean, for an egg donor, for anybody who's doing it themselves as they go through their infertility journey, you do need that cheerleader. It's tough on a relationship. It's tough on a marriage. So to have that partner behind you.
Yeah. Of
You
all
can't
of
do
the
it
people
alone.
in your life. Well, and I think that you were mentioning how feminism is coming to the forefront, and one of the things that we've heard in context of Tribe of Women, we jokingly call it the F word because people treat it like it's a horrible thing, when really it's all about choice. And it's not just choices for women, it's choices for men too. If we get to choose to go to work, then men get to choose to stay at home if they want to.
Sure, absolutely.
And
it's the direction that we're headed. Yeah,
exactly. And so feminism including men is just kind of, it's kind of like Tribe of Women includes men, because
and we can be a voice for men as well, because there are men who do get breast cancer. It's it's a smaller percentage, but it is. It's there. It's a possibility. So we need to make sure they're represented in the conversation as well.
That's a beautiful, beautiful story.
Thank
So,
you.
what do you think that there are some messages in relationships with women, so tell me a little bit about kind of what relationships you had with women before coming into this very female-dominated storyline of your life.
Yeah, I mean, probably the strongest relationship I have with any woman is with women, should I say, is with my mother and my sister. And I'm sure that's what drove me to the desire to be a mom more than anything, is that was so important to my mother, and I was raised that way. And I mean, she's a great mom, and I hope I do half as good a job as she has done. And I know that Callie has an amazing relationship with her mother as well. So
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I have a business that's actually female geared. It's online counseling and coaching, and so that's like my sphere. And then I've got best friends that I've had in my life for forever. So I think it was a natural fit. But
and this woman's she's a published writer. She wrote a book that's geared. So I know. So I said to her,
"This is what tribes are for."
Right.
It's like,
right. We speak on Hold on, Kelly. Accept your greatness.
okay, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
But I said to her, I was like, I wish I knew you when I was going through my quarter life crisis.
Yes.
And I'm so glad to know her now, because we all go. I'm going to go through a midlife crisis soon. So
I think we're probably right there together.
We go through crisis all our lives.
Right.
But anyway.
I think a big question that I always got was, one, what were you thinking that's so risky? And a lot of times this situation is anonymous. And so in most situations like these, I would never actually know Trish. I would have no idea if Grayson came to be or not. And I went into this thinking, I want to know how this ends. That's the whole reason I'm doing this. Like, what's the point if I'm not able to meet the mother and have a relationship and meet, the child one day? And the second question I got was, well, what does Andrew think about this? And I was just like, these are very bizarre questions about gender that are coming up right off the bat of, it's risky to get that close with another woman that you don't know yet. And what is your boyfriend gonna say? And I was like,
oh my goodness.
wow. And it's just a pattern, and it continues to keep up. And now it's, well, do you feel weird around Grace? And I'm like, okay, that's a fair question. I welcome that one. Which the answer is no, other than the fact that he has my curls.
I know. No, they look so much alike. But like on my end, we're in the filmmaker lounge, and Grayson's with us, and he looks at me and he says, "Mama," and she's standing right next to me, and I'm like, how amazing is that? That even though he looks like her, like, I'm the mama.
Yeah. He's not confused
that to me
at all.
was a real moment of, because before going down this road, I read a book about like donors, surrogates, daddies, creating alternative family, blah, blah, blah. And it almost tells you like all the nightmare scenarios.
Like the do not do this.
Right, but like things to think through, and I think it's good to think through those things, because it was one thing I think Callie did really well, and what had us gravitate towards her is she made a very conscious decision to do this, and she knew exactly what she was getting herself into. It wasn't flippant in any sense of the word. And so that moment, like I'm sure a lot of moms have nightmares about, is my child going to meet their egg donor one day and think that's their mom?
Yeah.
So,
or how do you explain it later?
Yeah,
and the role that you have.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's the beauty.
And he's always gonna know.
Yeah,
But
she's Auntie Callie now.
Right.
She's Auntie Callie. That's
We're
what we
getting
say.
there. He's still like, we'll see.
No.
No. Totally
I'm
kidding.
famous, and when you're famous enough to be my auntie, then I'll let you know.
Right. Exactly. We'll work on it. He's such a sweetheart.
Well, I think one of the things that I heard in what you were describing about what people were asking you and the questions that they came to you with is that we have such a culture of competition, and it's competition between men, it's or between women and for men, and this sense of scarcity, and trying to flip the script, or what the T-shirt this year is plot twist, right? The plot twist is abundance, right? There's enough, and these the boundaries and barriers that we need in our lives are not between our healthy relationships or building relationships or reaching beyond. So you were strangers that became friends with that common purpose. But I feel like you both also have this higher purpose. So you did it at this level, but you have a higher purpose, and you had a higher purpose for doing it, and it was for the benefit of all women.
Absolutely.
All women, that you kind of bravely a path of like go beyond the formula.
For sure.
And you were like bringing awareness and.
Yeah, I mean, when I knew that I wasn't going to be able to carry a child, at first I thought it could potentially be my egg, but when I knew I wasn't going to be able to carry a child, I looked around for a resource, and there wasn't anything. And so I took the film background and was like, well, this is what I can do and give to the world, and so that the next person who comes after me knows what they're getting themselves into a little bit more, right?
Exactly.
And I just
think. So you were already on this journey. So you were like, okay, I'm with this family, I'm here. And then the next thing that happened was you said, okay, so now we're going to document it all.
Well,
they were already filming. So
we were already filming
with cameras, which was the good thing, is that they actually were like, are you open to filming us meeting? And I was like, okay. Sure.
And at the time, she didn't know that we would move forward. We both didn't know we'd move forward. It's her choice also. Yeah. She could have thought we were crazy.
Yeah. I just walked in and I was like, well, I guess we'll see how this goes.
What you're getting into. All right.
Yes. No, I was very well versed from the very beginning of the potential of what this would become.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
All right. So this is its launch. This is the beginning. So what do you hope for this movie? We kind of talked a little bit about it, but where do you hope this goes, and what messages do you hope it carries forward?
Well, I mean, first, this is our world premiere, so I hope this is just the beginning of our film festival circuit over the course of the year, and we'll also screen at cancer centers and with fertility clinics, and in conjunction with nonprofits that are like-minded issues. So we'll kind of travel with that, and hopefully there's distribution, so we get as many eyeballs on it as possible, and we can change and give a resource to as many people as possible. And what I hope in 10 years or so that somebody watches this movie and metastatic breast cancer is curable, and that maybe some of the touchstones will not be I hope it's almost not as relevant in 10 years. I hope that that our journey is normalized and people feel comfortable being open about building families in all sorts of different ways. And I hope that anybody going through a cancer diagnosis or an infertility diagnosis watch this film and don't feel alone.
Thank you. Thanks for being brave together.
Yeah.
It was awesome. Thank you for bringing this film, and thank you for being an amazing tribe of women.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. This is awesome.
Sometimes I need to unplug. Sometimes I've got to reboot. Sometimes I just want to sleep. But I always want to connect with you. Get into Brew Moods, Aromatherapy lotions, powered by a mindfulness app.